It's time for my 5th book review of 2021. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you like what you see, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. We are a booktube channel as well as writing tips, unboxings and the occasional bonus vlog. The 5th book I read for 2021 is The Betrayals by Bridget Collins, and I love this book so much. It didn't surprise me that I loved it because I adored the binding, and it was really humbling to read the author's thoughts on this book because she is just such a good writer. I'll read that to you in a bit, but before we get into this review, I will read you guys the blurb. At Montfort, an exclusive academy tucked away in the mountains, the best and brightest are trained for excellence in the grandeur, an arcane and mysterious contest. Leo Martin was once a student there, but lost his passion for the grandeur following a violent tragedy. Now he returns in disgrace, exiled to his old place of learning with his political career in tatters. Montfort has changed since he studied there, even allowing a woman, Claire Dryden, to serve in the grandeur's highest office of Magister Lodi. When Leo first sees Claire, he senses an odd connection with her, though he's sure they have never met before. The bond between them is strengthening, but both Leo and Claire have built their lives on lies, and as the legendary midsummer game draws closer, secrets are whispering in the walls. When you read that after you've read the book, oh, it's just so good, guys. This is probably one of the best reads I've had so far through 2021, and I'm so excited to tell you guys all about it. As always in my book reviews, the first half will be spoiler free. I will give you a spoiler alert, and the second half may contain spoilers. There's so much I want to discuss about this book, so let's get right into it. Like in the binding, this book has such good foreshadowing, and also it starts off quite slow, but then as you get into it, you cannot put it down. And the chapters are quite short, so it's one of those books that you're like, oh, just one more, and you can actually have time to do that. It's really, really good. I did start to ignore Matt as I got part way through, same as the binding. And as I got near at the end, all the foreshadowing began to click into place. I remember driving to work, and as soon as I got there, having to message Matt and be like, oh my god, I've worked it out, I know what's happening. And he was like, shut up, you can't tell me. The bookmark in the book is him reading it now, which is why I couldn't tell him. So I'm really excited for him to finish it so that I can discuss this book with someone in person, because there's just so much to talk about in it. It is such a good read. Bridget Collins has brilliant characterization. You really feel like you know the characters in this book. You kind of know exactly how they're going to think and feel, and they're not exactly likable because they are quite realistic. So they're not people that you're like aspiring to be or anything like that, but you can understand the reasons why they do everything that they do. I'll read you guys the author's notes on the book. Now, it's not a spoiler, but it does tell you what this book is based on. So if you don't want to see that, skip to this time here and you can skip it. I don't think personally it gives you any spoilers because it doesn't tell you what happens in the book. It's just based on another book. As many readers will already have guessed, The Betrayals was in part inspired by Hermann Hesse's brilliant novel, The Glass Bead Game, also known as Magister Lodi. What I call the grandeur has a lot in common with The Glass Bead Game, as Hesse conceived it, an elusive game that combines maths, music and ideas in an atmosphere of meditation, and is overseen by the Magister Lodi, Hesse's pun on the Latin for schoolmaster. The Betrayals is set in a very different world and is a very different kind of book, but nonetheless it owes a huge debt to Hesse's masterpiece. I really want to read that book now because the grandeur is a really interesting form of art, and she does say it's heavily based on Hesse's book, so that is one to put on the reading list. Now, in the acknowledgements, as a writer, it really speaks to other writers, and I want to share with you one of the struggles that Bridget Collins had when she wrote this book. She says, it's never easy to admit that 60,000 words of your precious second draft won't be missed, but I have to concede that they will write. If you are an aspiring writer, please heed Bridget Collins' words. If you give your book to an editor and they want to get rid of 60,000 or more words, there's a reason those words aren't needed. And this book, I don't want to think of it with more words in because it is so concise, but enough in there. It really does flow so well. So if you are an aspiring writer, do not be upset if someone says you don't need these words. You probably don't, and it will really help the reader with your work. So I love Bridget Collins' honesty on how many words were taken out by the editor, and I also love how she admits that it was hard to write given that The Binding was such a bestseller that this one had to live up to it, and I think it really does. So really well done to Bridget Collins with this book. It is so good. Another thing overall in this book is her way of describing everything is so beautiful. It can be so bare and to the point, and then just randomly there'll be this beautiful sentence of describing something that you would just never have thought to describe that way. It's so lovely. Definitely look out for those little gems in this book. Spoiler alert. We're now going to go to the second part of my review, and this part may have spoilers. If you have not read this book and you do not want any spoilers, skip to this time here. Then I will tell you my overall view and give it my marks out of 10 stars. If you have read this book or you do want to hear some spoilers or aren't too fast, keep watching and we'll go into more detail on this book. I honestly have far too many quotes I want to tell you guys in this book because, as I said previously, her descriptions can be so blunt and then just so beautiful at the same. Oh, it's just, I loved it so much, guys. I really did. The first quote I wanted to share with you guys was on page 52, and this is honestly just a nerdy, geeky Blackadder thing. Anyone who is a fan of Blackadder or has seen the series and can remember any of it, at one point Leo says, "I have a cunning plan," and in my head,
I've got a plan, and it's as hot as my pants!
Because of Blackadder, I know it's not like about the writing of Bridget Collins, but I kind of hope she's watched Blackadder and knows what she just did to my brain in that section because, yeah, I couldn't not add that second part in my head. The other brilliant bit about the following part of that quote is Leo gets told that his work is predictable and repetitive and it's already been done. So his way of getting over that is, I'm going to find the most authentic game ever written and work out how to copy it. It's just such good characterization. He's been told he's not authentic enough, so instead of coming up with his own creative idea, he's just going to go, okay, I'm going to find the weirdest game that's ever been written and I'm going to copy that one, and then they'll think it's authentic. And it also shows the character's age as well. He's supposed to be a teenager, and no one likes those comments when you're young, so I really enjoyed that. On page 81, periods. Yes, finally a book which talks about periods like they are, like a normal monthly problem that women have to deal with, that we've had no option in, that men do not have to face, and it's so refreshing to just hear it just referred to and described in its normal way, and just all of it is so good. And I'm really appreciative to Bridget Collins for putting that in there, because the things that happen, I mean, waking up and being covered in blood down there, and then being late because it does make you tired, it makes you groggy, sleepy, and you don't know how it's going to make you. Every single person is different. I now know it's coming, and I warn my partner, and I'm like, I need to cry. I have no reason to cry. I'm very happy, but I need to cry. So my way is I watch Marley and Me, because that film always makes me cry, and I just let it out and then get on with my day. But the fact that you have to factor that into your life, every month you need to have a second to go and cry somewhere, is so infuriating, and it's something that I'm sure a lot of other women have problems with. So I love how this book really brings it in. One of the main characters, the Magister Lowdy, Claire, she wakes up, has her period, she's late, she has to get herself cleaned, put the rags on. She's in a man's world. There's no other woman in that place. So she has to hide these bloodstained rags. She has to deal with it by herself. And then when she arrives at the meeting late, the way that the men around her react is so annoying. And I love how she's like, if they had something going on like this, they wouldn't have to apologize for their bodies, but she does, because she's the only one going through that and the only one who knows what it's like. And it's generalization, because obviously men in the modern world are not like that. My partner is definitely not like that. He completely understands and is really good about everything and helps and everything. And all of my male friends, likewise, are wonderful people, and they understand it. They know what it is. They're not embarrassed about it. It's what it is. It's natural. Let's deal with this. But it is so true. I mean, I remember when I was younger, hiding pads and going to the bathroom at school, because if someone saw your pad, that was, a really bad thing. Just all of those things that go along with it, you should never be ashamed of it. And I love how this book does think about that. My partner does disagree with me in some ways. He's only read 3 chapters, but he says the book is sexist because she's the only woman there and because it draws attention to this fact. But for me, it's not being a sexist book. It's about her dealing with these problems, which are real problems, and there's still problems that a lot of women face. Or the reveal on page 141 that Magister Lowdy, Claire, is Carfax's sister. I love it. That was like, oh, what? And it explains why Leo thinks he knows her, and just, I loved it. I do guess a lot of endings of books. I find the foreshadowing, I tend to get it quite early on. But in the Betrayals, did get it to a certain extent, but it was a lot later that I got it. And I think I got it when Bridget Collins wanted us to, rather than before they planned for me to know. That all the way through this book, oh my god, I don't want to tell you, even if you've read this book, I don't want to say, even though I've warned about spoilers, what the big reveal is, because it's just so good. I just can't say it on camera, I just can't. But I remember when I saw it coming, oh guys, I was so upset that no one else I knew was reading it, because I was just blown away. It was so good. And then when you think back to it, you're like, well, duh, of course, because she foreshadows it so well. It's really, really good. On page 146, I have a favourite quote, which is, "Your little melody, Carfax. It gives me a metaphorical hard-on." Leo decides to describe how good Carfax's work is that it gives him a metaphorical erection. It's so awesome and so funny. I really, really like it. And I like how it normalizes erections as well. It doesn't just normalize periods earlier on, it also normalizes that men will get an erection, and sometimes it's not over something sexual. It can just be something beautiful happens. Sometimes, I mean, Matt's told me sometimes there's even nothing happens, it just happens, but I love how Leo chooses to describe Carfax's work. On page 152, it reminded me of The Binding, because Bridget Collins shows passion by hands. It's often about the hands touching somewhere and the heat from the hands. And I think if she does it again, it might start to get repetitive. But I do like how that is the way she's chosen to show a rise in passion and romance between two characters, is the heat of the hand sort of burning into that person. And it's really nice. And it did link back to The Binding. You know that point that Carfax and Leo are romantically interested in one another, and it's very, very sweet, and I do like that. A really funny quote I did enjoy as well is on page 244, and it is, "If I owned that, I'm pretty sure I'd want to marry it. I mean, wouldn't you want your violins to be legitimate?" So I'm a musician, and that was just so funny for me, because we do treat our instruments like our babies and we love them so much. And that was just hilarious to me, that, oh, little legitimate baby violins coming from this oh, it's just so cute, and I thought it was hilarious. And I do love how Bridget Collins, all the way through, the grandeur is a link between maths, music, and meditation. And she writes it so well. You can really imagine that the characters are masters of music and master mathematicians. I really, really enjoyed that. Page 406, like the period that Bridget Collins writes about, I love how she also highlights the problem of women being told to smile, and women being sort of brought up to think that we're designed to make everything happy and make a home and do all of these things. And Claire argues with Leo, and she says, "I don't have any reason to be kind to you, Leo. That's what you think women should do, isn't it? Make you feel better, help you live with your mistakes, drop a veil over the mirror." It's so refreshing to see it written down, that is something that some people do expect. And as I said before, this is a generalization, and all of my male friends do not do this, and they are wonderful people, and it is definitely dying out. And I really, really hope that we can get rid of all these sexist ideas. But it is something that most women will have witnessed at some point, and being told you have to make someone feel better just because you're a woman is so frustrating. And I love how this book does address that problem. Again, I don't want to give anything away, even though this is the spoiler section. I'm fighting the urge. There's things I want to tell you guys, but I don't feel like I can. I just can't. Even if you've read it, just comment down below if you've read it and we can message about it, please. I don't want to say it on camera, the big reveal, or what you think is the big reveal. Like, Bridget Collins leads you on at least 2 or 3 times, and I fully believed I'd sussed it at these points. If you've read it, please comment down below, please message me and we can discuss it. I can't say it on camera. I just can't do it to this book. It's such a good reveal. Please, I can't. Don't make me do it. Just comment below and tell me if you've read it and we can talk about it then. Overall, this book is definitely one of the best reads I've read so far in 2021. I adored every second of it. It begins slow, same as The Binding, but then you get so sucked into it. The characterization and the character arcs are brilliant. Foreshadowing is perfect. And I love the world. I love Bridget Collins' style of writing. I love the issues it took on board, you know, the issues of being a woman, the sexism, and also the world split between capitalism and that of education and study and research. It's a really good, interesting read, and I would give this 10 out of 10 stars. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Tumblr. I post general bookish pictures, as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!